Good evening and welcome to the Greenway Advisory Committee meeting for November 18th, 2019. I am Melissa Brown and we do have a quorum tonight. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And I would like to request a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Now,
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So next on the agenda is talking about the Reagan Smith presentation discussion. So let's go ahead and get that started.
I know you were here. I think Ms. Laura left to go to Citizens Police Academy. It was just kind of an update and overview. They're responsible for the master plan, and it's the whole park system as a whole, including the greenways, how we can extend that in the future, how or if we can tie that into Smyrna's Greenway plan. I think even somewhere down the line, there were plans to tie the Brookside Greenway maybe in back behind Cane Ridge. I may not be 100% correct on that, but that's what their presentation was, to try to see what direction we wanted to go in, how we could do it, what would be the best route to do that. And that's just taken from what we have now, not really adding anything to what we have, our existing greenway, just trying to see how we can extend that out further. And that may even, if we can get it worked out, it may eventually go to the boat ramp, to the boat dock area, and terminate there. Our goal is to see how we can get that further into Smyrna. How we're going to do that, either wrap it around the shoreline, which you've got the Corps involved in that, and TWRA, or if there's some way that we can feasibly get it through the Lake Forest subdivision back there, some way to connect to Smyrna. So that's going to be a project in itself, figuring out how we're going to do that. But we are scheduling a couple more meetings with them. We had a December meeting scheduled, which we're going to have to reschedule that because there's not a parks meeting for the month of December, and we'll talk about our meeting in December also, whether we want to have one or kind of reschedule that. But that's where that's at. I didn't know if you guys have any input of what you would like to see, anything that we could pass along to them, since they're kind of really in the beginning stages of that you'd like to see addressed as far as the Greenway goes.
I think I was really impressed with their presentation. It was nice to see the map that they prepared for us and the options that they presented. And mostly I'd like to encourage people to reach out to us on this board and let us know what they want. It's not just about what we want, it's about what's best for the city as a whole. Definitely, I think there's a lot of room for improvement on the Greenway, at least expansion. And the thing to remember too, I wanted to just make sure to say this, having a master plan allows us to apply for government grants from the state. And so that's what we're trying to do now, is lay the groundwork so that we can get help from the state to pay for this, so it's not all out of the taxpayers of Laverne's pocket, but it's more of a, the master plan for the state is to try to connect the greenways and as much as possible. And so that's in line with their goals already. So having this plan in place does not mean it's made in stone. It's kind of like a budget. You set the budget with an idea of what you would like to do, and then things happen the same way your home life does, where you might not have planned for your water heat to go out, but you do have to make that a priority and move something else further down the list. So what we're trying to do is establish the plan. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on what.
I think, and I feel, and I've said it, I feel like it should go all the way down to the boat ramp. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it'd be, because I've walked it, not all the way I've walked it up to about City Hall or back there and then back. And so I'll tromp through the woods though when I go back.
Yeah, and we'd love to see that too, because there's so many available resources down there that aren't getting used right now.
Yeah.
If we could extend that out and take advantage of what is down there and maintain that ourselves. Mm-hmm. I know there were several negative comments last week about it was referenced in the Greenway, you know, everybody polices Facebook anymore, but we don't, from the roundabout, the paved area of the Greenway to the boat ramp, that old dirt road, it's kind of asphalt, you know, it's torn up. We don't run the trash on that because that is still core property. So all we run the trash on is the Greenway itself. So our department maintains that, and we run it a minimum of twice, sometimes 3 times a week, trash. So we do, and there are trash cans out there, because a lot of the comments were, you know, why aren't there trash cans out there? There are trash cans and benches, you know, for the community to use, and for the most part, they do that. So when we when we run the trash, they're full, so we know that people are actually utilizing the receptacles there. I think a lot of the trash that we're getting is coming off the road trash that's getting blown into the ditch line, and we try to take care of that also. If we could ever get that area from the roundabout to the boat ramp, we would maintain that also. And I think that's a lot of where this trash is coming from. You know, they've generally had the stream cleanup that stormwater heads every year. Well, this year they just confined that to the Greenway itself instead of going from the old road bed to the boat ramp. So, and that area may need some attention, and that's probably where a lot of that was coming from. But we do want people to know that we do take pride in that Greenway, and we do maintain it to the best of our ability. Some stuff is gonna fall through the cracks. If we run it this morning and we don't run it again till Wednesday, we haven't seen the need right now to run the trash every single day, unless somebody brings something to our attention. So we feel like if we can do it, you know, 3 times a week, then that's pretty sufficient for this point. But there's several things that we want to do in the future out there that's not really related to this master plan. We haven't forgot about your fence. You know, you wanted to build a fence right there. We haven't forgot about that. We still plan on doing that. We'd like to clean it up, you know. I don't think there was any money in this year's budget, but we would like to clean that area up at the main parking lot where it's wooded and cut that, you know, trim that down and maybe put a pavilion in there or somewhere down the line, maybe even a small playground. But then we got to realize that's also in a floodplain, so we've got to take all that in consideration also.
It would be nice.
So we're excited about the Greenway. We're excited about where it could go. You know, it took so long to actually see that come to light that we don't want to, for people to think that, well, it's up and running now, so we're just going to neglect it. Because if anybody sees any issues out there, please contact our department, because we want all citizens to enjoy it and feel like they're safe, and we definitely want it to be a clean environment for them.
Well, that makes me feel better, because, you know, when we first started the process of the greenways, that was a lot of concern for citizens, is that, oh, you're going to have more crime, and you're going to have trash, and, you know, and we tried along the way to make sure there would be lighting in some areas, and there would be receptacles for the trash. Now, you have the cars and the wind that are blowing it that way, but I have not seen or heard a lot of complaints on there being excessive trash down. I think the more people you get in that area, I think even themselves, I know I do it when I walk. If I see it, I pick it up and I throw it away. And I kind of feel like if we can get through this presentation and hopefully get a master plan and move the greenway further down. I know in the stormwater cleanups, it was usually from the boat dock up to the roundabout, and there is a lot of stuff in there. I mean, there's mattresses and tires and baby carriers. I've seen it all down there. The more traffic you get, the less of that I think that you will get. We've seen that in just this one section. I remember there being a cleanup several years ago behind the library.
Yes.
And there was mattresses and all of that stuff. Well, now that you have this greenway, there's more visibility. And I don't think people are doing it. You may be seen, you know, that type thing. Either way it goes, there's less of it. That makes us all happy. So we can focus more on those cleanups every year somewhere else if that's not as bad as it has been.
Yeah, and this time of year, you know, through the winter months when the leaves aren't on the trees and everything is not so dense, then the trail's more visible, so people are less likely to go down there and vandalize something or dump their trash. So what we'd like to do is, during the winter months, go in there on occasion and take out some of the smaller stuff to make the trail more visible, even in the summer months from the road. Because once it gets overgrown in the summer, some of those areas are kind of tough to even see the trail from. So we'd like to do that, at least you're visible from the road.
Well, I have walked it. I know it technically ends at the roundabout, but I have continued
Yeah.
on down through there, and it's still pretty okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that we would have to do a whole lot
Right.
to continue it down. And I do know when I first joined the Greenway Committee, that was something that was said to me, that when the government started giving grants and people started talking about these, it was to connect them all. That was the whole point of it. So I would really love for us to somehow be a part of increasing that, whether it moves on to Smyrna or back through Lake Forest, just so maybe the people that live in the back of Lake Forest, maybe they don't want to drive over here and park and walk, you know? So
Yep.
I'm hoping the citizens will reach out to us with their ideas of, I'm sure you want to not infringe on someone's property and you want to make sure that there's safety and roads and things, but I hope that people will give us some ideas on how we can make this go forward.
Is the back of Lake Forest close enough to the Greenway in Smyrna? About how far are they apart?
It would have to, and it's been several months since I've even looked at the original plan. So I don't want to throw something out there and not be right about it, but it would have to pretty much cut through Lake Forest somewhere. And I
Are we looking
think
at
it
like
comes,
2 or 3 miles, 5 miles? What are we
I
looking
think
at?
it connects somewhere on the backside of the airport, maybe. I may not be right on that, but I want to say it connects somewhere back by the airport.
So I think I'm not sure if that's part of it or not, but off of Weekly Lane, is that
Yeah.
part of their
Yes,
Greenway?
yeah.
Okay.
That's part of it.
And then it comes down
Yeah.
by the airport. Okay. So that's kind of
Yeah,
doable-ish.
if you could, come on down, I can see it, but I don't know how to.
So if at all possible, maybe at the next meeting, we could see a map of theirs and ours.
Right.
And see what possibilities we could come up with.
Like an aerial view.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that do go to the boat ramp and just sit there and watch boats come and go and feed the ducks and the geese.
Feed the ducks.
Feed the ducks and the geese.
Don't-
And so if it was opened up all the way from the roundabout all the way to the boat dock, I think that would be,
And it's really pretty down through there.
beautiful in
It's
there,
really pretty.
you know.
Once you get away from the ducks and the geese and you move on up towards the roundabout, it's really nice if you're along the shoreline. So, I think it would just add to what we already have. And as far as Brookside, I think I don't know if I can speak for anybody else, but it really hurt my feelings to hear people say it was the Greenway to nowhere. And when we first put it in, and it really does kind of go nowhere,
that way,
but I
it
think the
doesn't go
issue
nowhere,
was the property that it should have
Right,
continued
backed
over.
up to.
I think there was some issues being able to use that to move it on over to Cane Ridge where it would connect. So I don't know if that issue is still there, and I think that property, it couldn't be built on, I don't want to speak wrong here, but I want to say that property couldn't be built on, but I don't think the owner wanted the Greenway to come
Right.
through there. So I don't know if we can revisit that.
Well, and there's a lot of construction going on out there now with some new subdivisions going up. And I think that area where it dead end to that big open field out there. I think you're right. I think that's a floodplain also, and it's pretty much not usable for anything. But there may be something where we can work something out with the current owner of the land to maybe do something out there. You know, we were looking at one time putting like a little neighborhood park out there in some of that area. So I'm not 100% sure any of that is off the table yet.
And
That would
maybe we
be-
could reach out to Davidson County for their greenway and see if maybe between the two of us, the two cities could work something together and see if we couldn't let them just run that path through there. I mean, we're not building homes or anything, it's just a greenway.
One other thing is that there are safe school grants that are available, so make school areas more walkable. So I think that'd be a really good thing for us to look into as well, when we're considering the master plan is how can we use the existing sidewalk system that's in Laverne, which I realize is not robust, but we do have some sidewalks. And, but a part of our planning process needs to include more sidewalks and connecting those to the greenway so that kids can use the greenway to walk to school.
Yeah.
So that might be something that we can look into as well. Haven't heard from you, Carissa.
Well, I came to the meeting last month where I saw the master plan and heard the presentation, and I was very impressed to see the forethought that's going in, and just the thought that sometime in the future, we might get to see the entire plan come to fruition. I mean, that's just a dream to see how beautiful we've got right now. Imagine what it'll be when it can go all the way to the lake.
Right.
My question, I guess, on that is I know it's core property, so do we have a working relationship with the core?
I think that relationship over the last several years has gotten better. That would probably be a question better answered by city admin. But when we first started, when Reagan Smith came on board to do the master plan, that was one of our bigger focuses is let's try to extend this greenway to the boat ramp. Let's take that, and it just led me to believe that if that relationship hasn't gotten better over time, that we never would have even thrown that out there as a possibility. So when we threw that out there, let's get this to the boat ramp, there was, as far as we go, or the powers that be above me, didn't really seem to think that it was going to be a case closed deal, that there was a pretty good possibility that would happen. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed and keep pushing for it, because if we took that over and we could get that down there, that would take that off their hands as far as maintaining it. Because when we get calls now for trash at the boat ramp, or somebody needs to go down there and clean it up, we don't do that. That's on the, that's the core property. So we don't go down there and pick that trash up. But there's so many possibilities that, we'd love to see a sand volleyball down there, or a pavilion, or a small playground for kids, fishing piers. There's so much that can be done with that, and it's just sitting there not getting utilized.
Right.
So yeah, we'd love to see it.
I had understood when they started talking about the Greenway, going around meeting in the Smyrna Greenway, that it would be going up by the Youth Incorporated.
Well, seeing if it was to wrap that shoreline, that's where the Corps would have to come in, or TWRA, because it's highly doubtful they'd give the access to that shoreline area there. So at this point, if we can get it to the boat ramp and then revisit where we need to go from there, if we can take some baby steps, at least show some kind of a progress, because we definitely don't want to wait another 12 or 15 years. I know things move slow, and a lot of times it seems like nothing is getting done, but I think with this master plan coming into play, that's going to at least give us a good blueprint to move forward.
Right. And I do agree that the more it's used, whatever portion of it, the more it's used, the less people are going to have the ability to litter, dump, just because no one wants to get caught doing that. And so it just is it a deterrent. And crime can happen anywhere anywhere. So it doesn't have to be, it's not going to be centralized around the Greenway any more than it is anywhere else in
I haven't
Laverne.
heard anything about
No,
there being any major issues.
Right.
What I do see are kids on bikes, adults on bikes,
Right.
and people walking their dogs
dogs.
and running. And I love that. Every time I drive by and I see somebody using it, I'm really excited.
Yeah. And the one thing that helps us as far as the Corps of Engineers is that our mission is to, give some green spaces for our residents to use. But that also aligns with their mission. So it makes me feel like, just based on the fact that their goal also is to get people outside and involved with nature more, I really feel like that we should be able to partner together because we have the same goal. So if we can partner together and help each other realize our goals, I think that it's just a win all the way around.
Well, and doing the master plan shows them that we have a plan in place.
Right.
And that we've got goals and we've got logical steps to get there, so I think hand in hand, we can make this happen.
Right. But we still want a lot of feedback from the residents because, it's not done yet. It's not built yet. It's not, it's still in the discussion phases. Now is the time. So many times we plead for people's opinions and please give us ideas, and then nothing, we don't get a lot of responses, and then what happens instead is criticism after the fact, which is not all that helpful, and it doesn't allow you to have your voice heard when it can make a difference. So right now is the time to make a difference.
Are there ways to get signs on the Greenway, maybe with a QR code that could take them to a survey that could,
That's a really good idea. That's a really good
no
idea.
one's gonna walk without a phone, a QR code will take them straight to a survey. and we
Yeah,
can get their
that's-
instant feedback.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, we could try to put them at the main parking lot and here, and it's roundabout. So if we had a minimum of 3, just directing them towards our survey.
Yeah, but I mean, for $20 or $30, we could get a few signs just for the Greenway that would take them right to it. They could do that while they're walking.
Yeah, I like that idea.
It's
Because
brilliant.
if you don't see it, then you don't know it's even out there.
Right.
I mean, you see people park across the street or across the road and walk there at the roundabout, and they go walking down to the Hurricane Creek to go fishing. So this way, if you extend the Greenway, it would be a real nice little track.
And that would be an excellent place to put a sign, would be right there where it
Yeah.
ends. That way,
Yeah, they
ask
can't
them,
miss
what do
it.
you wanna see here?
Right.
Right.
Because that has been a long time, kind of sitting. I mean, it's used by people that fish regularly and stuff, but it's not used by the whole community. But it would be if
But
there
it
was
would be if
more,
it- Yeah,
if it connected to the Greenway, and if
Right.
there was something to do there. If you're not into fishing or boating,
Feeding the ducks.
feeding the
kind of
ducks
it.
and the
That's
geese.
it.
is there any more comments on the presentation? No.
Can't wait to see where else they take us.
All right. Then
Just as long as they don't start building, boat shelters outside of
No.
next on the agenda is talking about the next meeting. I know, David, you had started to say that the parks have canceled their December meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
I'm open discussion on that too. I'll just say, just right out front, I'm for canceling our December meeting as well, because I think everybody's holiday schedule is busy enough. Everyone in agreement with that? Oh.
I think,
Well, that gives another month for information to come in.
right.
Right, there's not a whole lot that we can do in December anyway, so, it might be best to just wait and have a January meeting so we can kind of get our, but while you're waiting for the next thing, I'd really be interested to hear what your New Year's resolution for the Greenway Committee would be. Just see if we can, kind of align those with some of the goals that we have. That way we can start working on a list, because when I first got on this board, that's the first thing I said. And a lot of those things are in discussion now, and we're making a plan towards them. So if there are other things, just be thinking about those for where we want to go in 2020. Got to have good vision in 2020, so I want to show that.
And hopefully, when we get to January, maybe there'll be a couple more meetings or discussions, and we'll have more information to see what ideas they have, the Reagan Smith people
Right.
as well.
Absolutely. All right, so. Next is, before we close, I just want to open the floor for any board member comments. So we'll start with Carissa.
I'm just excited that we've got a plan started in place, and I just can't wait to see where 2020 takes us.
I am going to second that. I think we have come a long way, and I think we all work well together.
Yes.
And I love the diversity of the ideas that all come into one.
Those are, yes.
QR code, oh girl.
I know. I'm a little jealous that was her idea, though. Oh, that was a great idea.
Well, being a longtime resident here, and I've walked what we're hoping will be the extension of the Greenway. I've enjoyed it. I mean, I'll go park at the boat dock, and then I'll walk all the way down to the traffic circle and then walk back. And it's amazing the wildlife that you can see. And I mean, and the shrubbery and stuff like that.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
We just got to get more people out there to more area of it.
Well, I think if it was more convenient to be all the way down to the boat dock, there would be more people. There would be more people walking back there.
We work on that.
So for my comments, I'm just excited also. I think that we're headed in the right direction. I love the fact that we're working with Parks Board and, in tandem with them, learning information and kind of working hand in hand with them. I love that we're partnering with our neighboring cities on either side of Laverne, and also other organizations like the TWRA and the Army Corps of Engineers. I think it's important for us to develop those relationships and continue to use those, so that we all kind of get a sense of the greater community and not just the one that's inside our city limits. So that's fantastic. So our next meeting will be in January, and if there's no further comments, I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.